The world once stood on the edge of total destruction, not through armies marching, but through silent threats, coded messages, and the fear that at any moment, a single decision could end humanity. This was a war where no bullets had to be fired to kill millions. Welcome to Misteryo Archives, unlocking the secrets of time. Today we uncover the Cold War, the global conflict fought in shadows, where the battlefield was the mind, and fear itself became the ultimate weapon. The cheers of victory from World War II had barely faded when a new tension, quiet but powerful, began to spread across the world. Cities were rebuilding, families were healing, soldiers were returning home. And yet, beneath the relief and hope, there was unease. The two nations that had stood side by side to defeat the Axis powers, the United States and the Soviet Union, now faced each other as rivals. They had fought the same enemy, but they did not share the same vision for the future. The United States believed in a world of capitalism, where individuals could own property, build business, strive freely, and shape their own destiny. To them, freedom was personal, something tied to choice. The Soviet Union believed in communism, where the state provided equality, resources, and direction for all. To them, equality was the highest form of justice, even if it required control. Both believed they were right. Both believed they were moral. Both believed the world would be safer under their system. And both feared what would happen if the other ideology spread. Fear became the true weapon. Europe, devastated by war, lay vulnerable. Cities in ruins, economies broken, millions homeless. Whoever helped rebuild Europe could shape its future. So the United States created the Marshall Plan, offering billions of dollars to help Western European nations recover. Roads, factories, homes, rebuilt under American aid. The Soviet Union, suspicious of American influence, blocked this aid in Eastern Europe and instead installed governments loyal to Moscow. Walls were not yet built, but the division was clear. Winston Churchill would describe this moment with a phrase that echoed across time. An iron curtain has descended across the continent. This curtain was not made of steel or stone, it was made of mistrust. One side looked west, toward democracy. The other side looked east, toward controlled unity. And in the space between, the world held its breath. But the weapon that changed everything was not a political idea. It was the atomic bomb. When the United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the world saw destruction on a scale never imagined. Cities vanished, shadows burned into walls. And from this horror came the realization that future wars could end not with surrender, but extinction. The US held this power alone until 1949, when the Soviet Union detonated its first atomic bomb. In that instant, fear became global. It was no longer about armies crossing borders. It was about missiles crossing oceans. And so began the arms race. Each side built more weapons than the other could imagine. Warheads hidden in submarines beneath the sea. Missiles buried deep underground. Bombers circling the sky at all hours. The irony was chilling. The more weapons they built, the less likely they were to use them. Because if one fired, the other would respond, and humanity would be caught in the fire. This understanding became known as mutually assured destruction, a promise that if the world ended, it would end for everyone. Yet war still broke out, not direct war, but proxy wars, where other countries became battlegrounds for ideological influence. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, places where young men and women fought and died, not always understanding why. But nothing brought the world closer to annihilation than the Cuban Missile Crisis. In 1962, U.S. reconnaissance planes discovered Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba, close enough to strike American cities in minutes. Panic spread across the United States. Families built bomb shelters, children practiced hiding under desks. Radio stations prepared emergency broadcasts. The world entered 13 days of unbearable tension. President Kennedy and Soviet leader Khrushchev exchanged threats that could have turned the earth into ash. Soldiers waited for orders that might never come. Generals urged action, diplomats begged for time, and ordinary people stared at the sky, wondering if they would see tomorrow. It would be a secret agreement, the removal of US missiles from Turkey, that ended the crisis. The missiles in Cuba were withdrawn. The world exhaled, but fear remained. As tension continued, a new battlefield emerged, not on the ground but beyond it: space. The Soviet Union shocked the world by launching Sputnik, the first artificial satellite. A metal sphere, small and simple, but it carried a message louder than any speech. We are above you. If a satellite could orbit Earth, a missile could cross it. The US responded with the Apollo program. The race was not just about science. It was about pride, power, and proof of superiority. When Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon and said, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," millions watched. But behind the wonder was something darker. The moon had become a stage where nations competed for dominance. Years passed. Leaders changed. Alliances shifted. But the Cold War continued, sometimes quietly, sometimes in crisis. Behind the scenes, intelligence agencies worked tirelessly. The CIA and KGB waged a silent conflict of spies, informants, sabotage, and secrets. Double agents lived lives built on lies, never knowing whether the person beside them was friend or enemy. Trust itself became dangerous, but no system lasts forever. The Soviet Union began to strain under economic pressure. Factories couldn't keep up. Citizens demanded freedom of speech, of travel, of truth. New leadership tried to reform the government, but change revealed cracks too deep to repair. By 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved. The red flag with the hammer and sickle, a symbol that once represented a global power, was lowered, and with it, the Cold War ended. Not with victory, not with surrender, but with exhaustion. The world had survived the most dangerous war in history, a war fought not with bullets, but with fear. The Cold War may have ended without the world burning, but its echoes remain. Borders, tensions, alliances, all shaped by a war of shadows, a war fought not for land, but for the soul of the world. The question remains, in the wars we do not see, who truly wins? This is Misteryo Archives, unlocking the secrets of time. If this story moved you, leave a like, share this video with someone who loves history, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe and join our growing archive of untold stories, where every week we travel deeper into the past